You should be a documentary photographer, and I'm going to tell you why. Parts of this video are going to get a little historical and philosophical at times, but stick with me. Now, I'm not saying you should drop everything and try and build a documentary photography career, although if that's what you want to do, then this is probably a pretty good place to start. What I am advocating for is for you to be a documentary photographer in your own life. See, photography is a vastly versatile art form that lets you create whatever it is you want to see, but often what you want to see isn't what you do see. And this is clear and prevalent in many genres of photography, like fine art and fashion and commercial, all of which aim to meet a certain vision, which can usually be quite easily boiled down to the most attractive version of what it is they're trying to show. And this end is met through lots of control and through lots of editing and photo manipulation, removing the flaws from the images and enhancing the things that they want to show. And although this certainly has a place in photography, in documentary photography, generally speaking, it doesn't. Because documentary photography isn't trying to be perfect. That's not the point. And it never has been. Back in the early 1800s, when photography was invented, it struck fear into many an artist, not dissimilarly to the whole concept of AI today. Many of them saw it as a shortcut to art, or even an end to it, but some saw it differently. There are many figures who are credited for inventing and pioneering early photography. One such is Joseph Nicephore Niepce, and I definitely butchered the pronunciation of that, but that's the best you're getting from us. He was the Frenchman who took the world's first photo. There was also Louis-Jacques Monde Daguerre, butchered his name again no doubt, but he was another Frenchman who took the world's first photo of a person. Obviously in some of them it's quite hard to make out some of the details that was photography at its literal birth, and many of the other pioneers and inventors of the time built upon those concepts or developed their own entirely. And one such I would like to focus on for this brief history section is William Henry Fox Talbot. Talbot was an Englishman born into a wealthy family. He was well educated in a range of academic and scientific and cultural fields. He was even a politician. He sounds, from what I've read, like a pretty interesting guy, so could be someone interesting to read up on. But he was also an inventor who invented, amongst other things, the negative-positive system of photography, which in some forms we still use today. It's said that he couldn't draw his scientific observations to satisfaction, and that is what inspired him to develop his photographic practice, or in other words, he recognised that the art mediums of his time, like painting, drawing, sculpture, etc., all carry the flaws of the artist who uses them. Any work created through these mediums carries the burden of the artist's ability, or lack thereof, the burden of human error, and the burden of perspective and bias. The final point there of the artist's perspective and bias being embedded in their own work is incredibly important to the whole concept of documentary photography, and I think looking back at his accounts, Talbot understood this. Talbot developed photography in order to accurately document his scientific observations as they were, and in doing so he created the purest form of documentation. A tool that can accurately make record of reality, that can, but for a frame, freeze time. That is an incredible power to wield, and it's so easy to do so. With an official sounding title, documentary photography, I can imagine to some it might sound a little bit daunting, like there's an incredibly high standard, a high bar for your work to be classed as valid documentary photography. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Documentary photography doesn't need to be perfect. That's not the point. You don't need it to be razor sharp or in any way technically flawless. You just need it to tell a story. And to do that, you don't need a camera like this, the Fujifilm X-T4, which is rather expensive but takes incredible images. You could use a camera like this, which is considerably cheaper and still takes a great shot. And if you don't want either of those, you could even use a camera like this. Or if you can't get or don't want to get a dedicated camera, you could use one that you almost certainly already have, your phone. A camera that you've got on you pretty much all the time. And if you want to shoot photography a little similar to the likes that Talbot would have knew, you could always shoot film, which comes at a whole range of different prices. Point is, if you've already got a phone, you can start shooting. And if you want a dedicated camera to shoot on, then any camera will do, because the technical quality isn't what's important here. The quality of the story is. So, which story should you document? Well, this question's actually much easier to answer than it may seem, because you should document the stories that you want to document. I know that sounds like a cop-out non-answer, but it's true, really. If there's a story that is valuable enough to you that you want it documented, you want it immortalized, to be remembered, then it's worth you documenting it. If from that nothing's coming to mind, let me give you some examples. These are going to range from big, massive, world-changing documentaries to minor, little, everyday kind of things. I'm going to keep these brief because I know you can look into these things yourself. I just want to give you a little bit of inspiration and help spark some ideas. So let's have a look. Lewis Hine, a sociologist and photographer from America, Wisconsin, pioneered the modern concept of documentary photography, photographing child workers, addressing social issues, and aiding in a change in American labour laws. Dorothea Lange, a documentary photographer and photojournalist from America, New Jersey, is best known for documenting the many social issues that came with the Depression era, raising awareness for the severity and scale of the devastating effects of the Depression. Robert Capa, a Hungarian-American photographer and photojournalist, best known for his covering of the Spanish Civil War and World War II, in which he captured both the unseen horrors of war and the indomitable human spirit. Chris Steele Perkins, a British photographer, is well known for his documentary work covering a wide range of communities and honest depictions of a variety of different ways of life. William Eggleston is an American photographer from Tennessee who pioneered and popularised the use of colour photography. In his project, William Eggleston's Guide, he shoots a mix of landscapes, people and everyday scenes around the Mississippi Delta, beautifully documenting the region. Alex Soth, an American photographer from Minnesota, has a pretty unique approach to documentary photography, where a lot of documentary photography is shot candid. In much of Soth's work, he documents people, places and slices of life through posed portraits and well thought, planned out scenes, authentically capturing individuality, emotion and feelings along with real American stories. Cherney Gearan is from Georgia, America, and in her projects, the Mother Project and Daddy Where Are You, she intimately documents her family in a collection of meaningful and personal photos that tell the ever complex and rich story of family life and relations. So you see, there's no limit on what you can document. Stories are everywhere. All you've got to do is choose one. If all that isn't enough to convince you to start shooting some documentary photography, then I just want to leave you with this. Shooting for the purpose of documentary photography lets you immortalize fleeting moments, loved ones, places, events, feelings, you name it. It gives you the ability to preserve memories, messages, stories and legacies. And in the same way we look back at old paintings and drawings and literature and understand the past, today's photography can speak generations, centuries even, into the future. You, today, can write history on a monumental scale or on a personal level. And I urge you, I challenge you to do it. Think of something big or small, major or minor, and document it. Think about the people and the places and the feelings you experience in your day-to-day life that you don't want to be forgotten and lost to history, and document them. Speak to the future, be it the whole world or just your future family. Make a difference. Take some photos and, no matter the scale, write history.